Pilots, get ready for action.
Hello everybody and welcome back. It's Wadres here again, and today I decided I would do another World of Warplanes video. And this one's going to be a bit longer than the last one because I decided to take not just one battle, but two, and snip them together, just to kind of go over a couple of the highlights from yesterday's grinding towards getting my Tier 8 de Havilland Vampire. So, yeah, anyway, just kind of gonna let that go on in the background while I talk about a couple of things. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of my new subscribers for signing in and liking my page or following my channel. I have actually been looking over my YouTube analytics recently, and in the last 28 days I've picked up 9 subscribers and a little over 600 views just in the last month.
Nice work.
So yeah, there's definitely some growth happening on my channel, to say the least, and I definitely want to shout out to everybody and say thank you very, very much for subscribing to the channel and for just watching my videos. As those of you who have watched the first video or two that I put out, which are definitely on my World of Warships playlist, they're the first video or two in the line. This is a channel that I put together pretty much just for fun, so the fact that I've got people who are actually liking and following and all that good stuff is, to me, impressive, incredible, amazing, to say the least. So again, thank you very much, and I do hope that some of the content that I'm putting out is at least helpful to you in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, with that aside, the other thing that I kind of want to talk about a little bit is the upcoming 8.0 update for World of Warships, specifically in regards to the aircraft carrier changes that are coming along, the whole big CVRework. Well, to not put too fine a point on it, it is coming. It is definitely coming whether we like it or not. And that's kinda something that I'm not especially thrilled with. I have seen a handful of the community contributors, especially big names like Notzer, Barzelleth, and a few others, who have talked about the rework, and they've just expressed a wide number of concerns, which, when the wargaming developers, or the World of Warships developers, put out their most recent Waterline video, they talked about some of the concerns and basically just kind of did this hand wave saying, yeah, you know what, we're not really worried about it. You'll like it when it hits the live servers, and we really don't have the ability to test it properly without it being live. Things like that. And while to a point I can understand that they're going to get a lot more relevant data from the live servers, everything that I've heard regarding the rework so far is that it is not anywhere near in a complete stage to even be worth going on to the live servers, to the point that, especially with things like the anti-air system, it needs a lot more refinement before it can actually go live. And this is something that I don't care if they took an extra month or two to refine it properly. I want it to be workable before it goes live, instead of flat out ruining the game experience for a number of dedicated players until they do decide to iron it out in 1, 2, 3 patches whenever they decide it actually requires their attention. Assuming they decide it even requires their attention at all, given the way they've been kind of hand-waving it and saying, oh, don't worry about it. So yeah, there's one thing that really kind of gets me there. The other thing was that there were a couple of points in that video where they were talking about what they see as being the player's capabilities and whatnot, which honestly I found to be rather insulting, if to not put too fine a point on it. Not just rather insulting, fairly insulting, because they were talking about, oh well, we don't see players as being able to handle more than one thing at a time. Even most of the surface ships are handling more than one thing at a time, thank you, between balancing their positioning on the minimap, making sure where the enemy team is, balancing consumable use, so on and so forth. So, saying that a player cannot directly control their hull while controlling aircraft at the same time is bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. Especially when you have players who are practically screaming, calling, and crying for it in regards to just changes to make it workable when the patch does go live. So there's that. And that's one of the other things that I do want to mention. If I am going to be stuck controlling either my planes or my carrier in the new CV gameplay, I am not going to touch the CVs with a 10-foot hull, because I want that direct control over my hull. They are literally, basically taking the ship completely out of the equation, as more than a couple of the community contributors have noticed. So, yeah, I mean, you're taking the hull, you're taking the ship out of the equation in a game that is about the ships, not the Goram planes, okay? Yeah, again, if I wanted to go and if I wanted to play and run around with planes directly controlling airplanes, I would play the game that you're watching in the background here. I would go and play World of Warplanes, not World of Warships. Please give me the ship control back. It should not be that difficult for you, wargaming. It should not at all be that difficult for you to allow players to micromanage their hull and their planes without too much detriment.
Great job today.
I mean, listen to your players. They want the ability to control their CV hull so that they're not getting destroyed. And to actually be able to manage the consumable use so that they're not just popping off randomly whenever they get a single fire on their hull or whatever, which is really one of the biggest concerns that I have in regards to the whole automated consumables on aircraft carriers issue. And that's something that has been voiced by numerous community contributors as well. So, yeah. They might want to rethink that a little bit. There, of course, are also the AA changes, things that have been duly noted on Natzer's channel specifically, are the fact that there are some distinct AA cruisers that are having that are having major problems actually knocking aircraft down these days with the CVRework. The AA is not powerful enough or whatever, and it's too easily dodgeable in the long range with the flak bursts or whatever, and it needs a revisit. It needs to be refigured out. This is something that does not need to be live for them to work on, to figure out, to realize that, hey, maybe it should not be implemented in quite this fashion. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more RNG instead of whatever the hell else is going on. So, yeah, there's definitely some stuff that needs to be worked on there. And, well, let's go back to the whole thing where I'm not even a huge fan of the rework idea to begin with. I think the RTS style is actually very workable for aircraft carriers, and that it just needs some major overhauls. It does not need a complete rework of the actual battle scheme, and I realize they want to make it more engaging for new players, but at the same time, now they're kind of turning the aircraft carriers with this rework into more like one-trick ponies, where, as before, they were very, very capable, and in the right hands, they could be very capable. Now, granted, it's that whole in the right hands that is kind of another part of the problem. But again, there are things that can be done to mitigate that and keep it with the RTS style and maybe keep it a little bit more engaging. For one, you can remove a lot of the skill gap, at least with strike squadrons and whatnot, by removing the ability for manual strikes and manual drops. If everybody has the same requirements on their drops, that's going to do a lot to level your skill gap to begin with. Planes are going to be a lot more vulnerable, there's going to be a lot more risk setting up for the auto drops than for manual drops. There's also a greater chance to miss or to lose a shot, just like a destroyer that's sending his torpedoes at 10-15 kilometers and decides to TK an enemy by whatever means. Or, sorry, TK a friendly. But, well, granted that's not exactly a conscious decision on his part. If he's doing it intentionally, that's another matter entirely. But you see my point. If everybody's stuck with the same mechanics, there's no real major skill gap except for ensuring that your aircraft actually reach a strike target, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, there are definitely some things that could be worked on to make the CV interface in RTS better. When you're not micromanaging your planes, maybe give a little dogfight view of squadrons, or fighter squadrons that are engaging. Or maybe a surface view of torpedo bombers that are dropping torpedoes on targets, so you can kind of get their bird's eye view from where they are. I mean, there are definitely ways that I think they can make the RTS a little bit more engaging, a little bit more fun, without having to eliminate it completely. And just, yeah, without having to go through all of this major rework overhaul, and instead just kind of keep with something that is established in the game and make it better. Without, again, reinventing the wheel, which is literally exactly what they're doing. They are reinventing the wheel with this CVRework. And I don't think it's going to have the intended effect. I mean, sure, it might be enough to bring in new players to start with, but as soon as some of the players, especially with the CVs, realize that, one, the CVs are exceptionally powerful in the new iteration, and by numerous accounts, rather boring to play after you've done the same thing, the exact same thing, over and over and over again for 5, 10, 15 matches, then I've got a bad feeling that they're going to lose more of the player base. On top of the fact that I have not seen one comment on various community contributor videos which are actually in favor of the rework. I'll take it back. I have seen a couple of comments in favor of the rework saying give it a chance or whatever, while the vast majority of players, while the vast majority of commentators are saying, we don't want this wargaming, we really don't want this, not like this, give us our RTS back. And so I've really got to wonder in some ways where wargaming is getting some of the statistics regarding how many players want this rework. And are those statistics also reflecting the entire player base, or just the players who have actually responded to a survey that may not necessarily have been accessible to all players. Keep that in mind also, Wargaming. How accessible is your actual survey, or where you're actually getting some of these statistics?
We have control of all airfields in this area. Tactical superiority is
aside from
key.
the fact that apparently, I honestly think that they just wanted to rework the carriers just for the hell of it, and basically players be damned, players be hanged, because they want it and they're going to come out with it whether we actually want it or not. And as far as all that goes, I think that would be a bad way of just managing your game, to be perfectly honest.
You cannot leave the airfield in the enemy's hands.
And again, Morgan, if I wanted to fly planes, I would come play World of Warplanes. I would not be playing World of Warships. I enjoy World of Warships for the ships. Give me my ships back. And I'm not even going to go into all of the shit about removing effectively half of the CV lines as they are in game, with only doing the even tiers or whatever. Which means, say, when I go into World of Warships after the 8.0 update, I've only made it to the Essex on the US CV line, which means, while I'm not actually going to lose any of the experience progress, I'm going to lose my Essex. I'm going to lose that ship and all of the work that I've really put into it. I'm not going to, and that's just going to, I mean, I've worked for these ships. I've wanted to access some of these ships. Granted, I've gotten most of them through free experience, but that's just the way I've been working my way through it. And you're taking these ships away because you arbitrarily decide that the odd tier CVs are not a good idea? Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but damn. I'd rather have my ships. Thank you very much. Anyway. On that note, everything in the background here is almost over. I do manage to destroy the aircraft that was following me in the last stage of that IL-2 battle. And on that note, I suppose I should let everybody go and let everybody move on with their day. I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and my thanks for the views and subscriptions. Thank you all. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Happy hunting, and I hope you all take care. Stay safe.